Hey guys, John here for the RideshareGuy.com. Today, I'll be explaining how to calculate your per mile earnings and going over some sample numbers. It's a little more complicated than just subtracting your gas bill. To calculate your net profits per mile, we need to factor in several other things too: depreciation, tires, maintenance, and insurance. We'll be using a handy spreadsheet to calculate all this. You can find a link to it in the description. Depreciation is a big expense that most people don't think about. The more miles you put on your car, the less it's worth. But to figure out the exact cost per mile, we'll need to use the Kelley Blue Book. Let's say I have a 2013 Prius. First, calculate the value of the car about 2 years from now. I'm assuming that in that time, it'll have about 100,000 miles on it. Next, calculate the value again, as it is today, with about 50,000 miles on it. Now the value is about $12,000. This isn't a perfect estimate, since it doesn't account for depreciation over time, but it'll give you a decent estimate for your car's depreciation per mile. Subtracting the first value from the second value gives us a difference of about $3,000. Divide that by 50,000, the number of additional ride-sharing miles in 2 years, and you get an approximate ride-share depreciation cost of 6.1 cents per mile. Next we have gas, maintenance, and tires. Using numbers from AAA, the average cost of maintenance is 5.11 cents per mile, and tires are 0.98 cents per mile. For this example, I've rounded the cost of maintenance up to 6 cents per mile, to be on the safe side. For gas, I've assumed that fuel costs $2.75 per gallon on average. The Prius gets 43 miles to the gallon, so per mile I'd be spending 6.4 cents on fuel. So the grand total for depreciation, maintenance, fuel, tires, and gas comes to just under 20 cents per mile. Insurance is a fixed cost, so we can't calculate it per mile, but we can deduct it from each week's earnings. You don't need to include your entire insurance bill, just the difference between the cost of rideshare insurance and the cost of regular personal insurance that you had before you started ridesharing. For this estimate, we've assumed that rideshare insurance costs an extra $206 per year, giving us a weekly cost of $3.96. Now it's time to look at earnings and miles. These are real numbers from one of my fellow contributors who drives in San Diego. He also put together the spreadsheet. He made $476 in 22 hours and drove 790 miles to earn that money. At 19.5 cents per mile, that's a cost of $154 for the week's driving. That means he made $318 in profit, which is $14.48 per hour, or about 40 cents per mile. Taxes are another factor. I won't go into all the numbers here, but when you take the standard IRS per mile deduction of 53.5 cents per mile, you only wind up paying taxes on about $53 out of that $318 profit. So even though being self-employed means that those earnings are taxable at a higher rate, your total tax expenditures are way less than they would be if you made the same amount at a normal job. Paying around 30% in taxes on $53 is still cheaper than paying 22% in taxes on the entire $318. Hit the link in the description to find an explanation of all of these calculations and download the spreadsheet to fill in your own numbers. You can even fill it out week to week to see whether your profits are improving. And if nothing else, make sure you're keeping good track of your miles. It'll come in handy at tax time. Thanks for watching, and drive safe.